The Elementor Flexbox container is a new powerful feature that allows you to create flexible and responsive layouts with ease. In this video, we'll dive into the world of Flexbox and demonstrate how you can effectively use it to create stunning layouts with Elementor. One of the essential aspects of any website is the header and footer, which provide navigation and branding consistency across all pages. In this tutorial, we'll walk you through the process of creating eye-catching headers and footers using Elementor Theme Builder and the new Elementor Flexbox containers. What is up, party people? My name is Daryl Wilson. Today in this video, I'll be showing you guys how to create really nice header and footers using Elementor and the new Elementor Flexbox container. Now, I have various layouts and many users have been asking me, how do you guys create these layouts using Flexbox? Well, there is a little bit of work, but today in this video, I'll show you guys how to actually create a custom header and a footer using the new Elementor Flexbox container. There is a slight learning curve with Flexbox. I recently had an Elementor tutorial where we basically made the entire website using only Flexbox. And for a beginner, I can understand that it might be a little confusing at first when you first use the Elementor Flexbox, but it really does give you a little bit more flexibility when you're building your website. So let me walk you guys through how to create custom headers and footers using Flexbox and also make sure that they're mobile responsive. So here is the demo website that we are gonna work on today. As you guys can tell, we don't have a header here, and if we scroll down to the bottom, we don't have a footer. So we're gonna fix all of that. We're gonna make a custom header and footer using the Elementor Theme Builder. And here is the header that we're aiming to achieve to create in this tutorial. So here you'll see that we have this header on the left side. We have the time, we have some social icons, and these buttons here on the right side. It's a really clean looking header, and we also do have this whole demo templates available on our website. I'll go ahead and leave a link to that in the description below of this video. Now, in order to have access to this, you guys need to actually have Elementor Pro. I think you guys already know that by now, right? If you guys don't have Elementor Pro, there is a link below to purchase Elementor Pro. But before we do that, we need to first activate the Flexbox container. So let's go over here to Elementor and we'll click on Settings. Here we have Features, and we're going to scroll down and you're going to see Flexbox container, and it now is in a stable release.
So you guys might be asking yourself, Gerald, why did you take so long to actually make a video on Flexbox? I did see many other videos where they're talking about it, but it was an alpha and beta, and so many things were changing. So I wanted to actually see a stable release on it before I actually made a video on it and had to update those old videos and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and activate this. They have a bunch of other cool, really amazing features, like they got the page transitions and all these other features, really, really cool. I do cover some of these in my new Elementor tutorial, so if you guys do want to check that out, I'll leave a link below where we make a beautiful website from scratch using Elementor and Elementor Pro. So let's go down and click on Save Changes. All right, cool. Next, we're going to now turn on the Theme Builder. So let's go over here to the templates, and we'll go over here to Theme Builder. Next, up here, we'll click on Header, and then we're going to click on Add New. All right, so now we're prompted with these blocks right here, but I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to build them from scratch. We're going to learn how to use the Flexbox. So first, let's go ahead and click on the plus. And these are all Flexbox, right? So I know it doesn't say it right here, but these are all Flexbox containers. So what we're going to do is that we're going to select a 2-column row. If you take a look at my demo website right here, we actually have 2 columns, right? We have column 1 right here, and then we have column 2. So let's go back over here. And the first thing I want to do is I want to put a background color. I'm a big fan of adding the color first so that when we're actually building and adding elements, we can actually see what we're doing. So let's go ahead and click on these 6 dots, go to Style. Next, we'll go over here to Color, and here is my color code. You guys can go ahead and use that same color code. I'll leave the color code on the screen right here, so you guys can just go ahead and use that same color code. All right, next we're going to drag in some elements. So let's go back over here, and we're gonna drag in the icon list. Take that, and we'll drop it right there. And here we have item 1, and then we have item 2. I don't need 3, so I'm going to close that. Now, the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to use dynamic tags, and we're going to insert the current date and time. So when a visitor visits my website, they're always going to see the current date and time. On my demo website right here, you guys will notice that this actually dynamically updates with the date and time. So let's go back over here, dynamic tags. We're going to find the current date and time. And then for the icon, we're going to use like a calendar, right? Calendar. And I'll insert that. Now, if I click on the current date and time right here, you're going to see date format.
All I want to do is I want to make sure this says the date, and then for the time formats, I'm going to put none, because we're actually going to add the time format on the second icon. So on the second item list, we're going to now use dynamic tags, and we're going to do the same thing, right? We're going to find the current date and time, but this time I just want to add the time format only. So for the date format, I'll put none. For the time formats, I'll put the time that I would like. And here I'll put in a little clock, right? So clock. There we go, inserts. Now we need to see what we're doing right here. So under the style section, under the icon, we're gonna change all this to white so we can see what we're working with right here. For the text as well, we're gonna change this to white. Typography, here we go. No, we'll leave it like that. We just gotta change the color here. I don't wanna get too crazy. The text color is white, there we go. All right, so we changed these elements to white. Now I want to make these stack in line. So if I click on the element right here under the content, under the layout section, we have the inline. So now the elements are stacked in line. And on the right side, you guys will see that we have some social icons. So let's go over here to the search. We'll go to social icons, and we're going to drag that right there. And what we're going to do, I'm going to quickly go ahead and style these really quick. All right, so I went ahead and I changed these colors here to just like the standard whites. And I also went under the style right here and I changed the size to 15. Now that I style these, I want to go ahead and align them to the right side. So over here under the content, under the alignment, we're gonna put this on the right side. So there's our social icons. Now they look really good. Next, we're going to add in some buttons. So that's where we're gonna add in the new Flexbox. So let's go back over here and we're gonna take a container layout and we're now going to drop it right below that. And then we're going to find some buttons here. So let's go ahead and find our buttons. We'll drag one there. And then we'll also drag another button in. And we'll drag this right here. Now I'm using global styles. So when I drag in something, it basically looks like the layout that I'm currently using. But if you guys do want to style this, just like the way you guys see here, the color code that I use is 4B C9, and I just added a little border radius right there, so I just made it look a little bit different. And the font that I'm currently using here is Poppins as well, where we changed this to the 15, right? This is our weight, 500. And yeah, we had a little bit of line height right here, 1.2 pixels, and the letter spacing is around 2 pixels. So yeah, just like that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to actually change the color of this one here to a different color, just so that we can get a distinction between the different buttons. So we have these two buttons right here. Now I want to use the Flexbox here to align these, right? So if I click on Edit Container here, under the direction, we're going to put horizontal, right? Now I want to take these and put it on the right side. So in order to do that, over here under the Align Items, we're going to put this towards the end. Next, we need to justify the content. So I want to take these buttons here. I want to put them near the end of the screen right here. And to do that, we don't need to mess with margin or padding. Instead, under justify content, I'll just click on end right here. And now you guys can see that the buttons align near the end. I might want to change that from click here to something else, like register. And this will be, let's see, register. And this will be something like, click here is so generic. It's so boring, So register accounts. I don't know, something like that. You guys get the point, right? Now on the left side, you guys will see that we have the logo, and then we have the menu here on the left side as well. Now we're going to add in another container. So I'll take this container here. All right, we'll drop it right there. Okay. So now that I added those buttons in there, I now want to add in the logo and the menu here on the left side. Now in order to do that, we're going to go to the Flexbox here, and we're going to change the direction to vertical. The reason why is because I want to add a Flexbox underneath this element right here, and the only way to do that is by checking this vertical so that we can add the container below it. So right here, container, and now you guys can see that I can actually drop it below the date and time. Now I want to show you guys something here. If I were to change that, like if I were to put this on the a different direction, like let's just put this, let's just put no direction, If I were to try that again right here, you guys are going to see that I can't do it no more because basically we're trying to add the container in a specific direction. So that's why direction is important, because now it's saying, well, it's not going below it, so where is it going? And that's when it gets all weird and stuff like that. And then you might end up with something like this where it doesn't look good and stuff like that. So make sure that you guys do change the direction here so you can add the containers in that specific direction. Got it? You with me? You green? All right, cool. So just make sure that you guys go to the column that you are working on and you add in the vertical direction. Now we can add in the container. So container, and we can now drop it below the date right there. So now that we added the container, we're now going to add one more container inside of that container. So we'll take this container and we'll drag and drop it there. So there we go. We added a container inside of a container. Now I want to add in the elements inside of this new container right here. So let's go back to our dots, and for the site logo, we're going to drag and drop that there. And we're also going to take the nav menu and I'm going to drag it right below it like that. So now we have the logo and then we have my current menu right here. Now I got to change this logo, right? So let's go ahead and change the site logo really quick. Site logo. Here is the current logo that I'm using. I'll insert that. Okay. And there's my logo. Now it's a little bit too big right here. So I'm first going to resize this logo. So under style, for the pixels, we're going to change this to 125 pixels, right? Now that I've entered that in right there, I now want to go ahead and control these elements inside of the Flexbox. So the first thing I want to do is I want to increase the width of this. The reason why is because, as you guys can tell, these elements right here, even if I tried to change the direction, it's too big for this specific box. So for the width, I actually want to increase the width a little bit. So I'm going to change this width to around 1330. Now the box is a little bit bigger. Now I want to go ahead and use the Flexbox here to control the elements. So under the Flexbox, under the direction, I'm now going to select horizontal. And now you guys can see that this now changes horizontally, right? And if I close that, you guys will see that our menu's coming together pretty well. So now I want to add in the dividers on the menu. So over here under the style, we're now going to add in the dividers. And if I take a look at that, you guys can see that we now have our beautiful header that we created using the Elementor Flexbox. It's pretty simple. You know, when you're using the Flexbox containers, you really want to think sort of ahead, because you want to add in elements inside of your Flexbox, and then later you guys can go ahead and manipulate those elements inside of the Flexbox any which way you want. It is somewhat a little different of a learning process, because usually when you're building something, you're thinking in your head, I put it here, I put it here, I put it here. But with Flexbox, you kind of have to think a little bit later about what you're going to do with those elements, you know? Like example, like for the buttons here, you're adding in the buttons in the container first. So now that I entered the buttons in the container, how am I going to manipulate those buttons inside of the container, right? Just to give you guys another example right here. So for example, like under the button section here, obviously you guys can tell that it looks a little weird, right, when you're adding in all these buttons, but just remember that you guys can use a Flexbox here to like add in, gap, and then you can, make them vertical, and you can completely change them to fit whatever design that you're trying to go for, So yeah, that is how you guys can create a beautiful custom header using the new Flexbox container. Go ahead and reduce that gap there, right? Now, again, this is just scratching the surface. I do have another video that goes more in detail on Flexbox. If you guys do want to watch that, I will leave that video in the description below of this video. Now we're going to make the footer. So let's go ahead and scroll down here. And here is our custom footer using the new Elementor Flexbox. So let's go ahead and also make the footer. But before we do, let's make sure that this website or this header is fully responsive. So let's go over here to responsive mode. And let's click on a tablet. So as you guys can see, this does work on tablet devices, right? We have the menu right here, and then we also have the account and stuff like that. Now, if you guys do actually want to go ahead and align these buttons, or you want to make them a little bit more centered, because you can see there's a little bit black space right here. For the min height, we can go ahead and add some minimum height right here. And when you do that, that gives you more flexibility to control these elements inside that specific container. So now you guys can go ahead and, mess around with these options right here, where you can say, I want it towards the end. And if you look at it now, it lines perfectly up with the menu. And then, of course, you can, design these and stuff like that and control these. But the min height will give you that flexibility to justify the content and align the items inside of that box right there. So I hope that makes sense. So we'll go ahead and do center, center, center. Actually, no, the end and end, right? I think that looks good. Okay. And now we're going to go ahead and go to responsive mode over here. I'm sorry, the mobile, duh. There we go, mobile. And here, I think we just need to center this. So obviously you'll click on the edit container. So now we need to optimize this section for mobile. So the first thing is you see this box right here that's controlling the elements inside of the container. We're now going to click on that specific flex box. We'll go over here to layout, and here is where we can adjust the elements. So we can put this in the center, right? And then align the items also in the center. If there's any space right there, it'll basically force it to be in the center. And then for these elements right here, well, we can actually just click on the center. We don't have to use the Flexbox. So for the text module and other modules, instead of using the Flexbox to try to align the item in a specific way, you guys can just click on those elements and then basically align those using the options for the mobile options, like the alignment here, instead of using the Flexbox, right? You could go both ways, but just remember that it will also directly affect any other element that is inside the Flexbox. And I think this other part looks really good, right? So congrats, we have now created a beautiful mobile menu using Flexbox. Now let's go ahead and go to desktop. Now, one thing I do want to talk about that I'm going to make another video on, and that is a pop-up menu. So here is another demo website that we offer on my website. And if a user clicks on this right here, you're gonna see that this beautiful pop-up menu appears. I'm going to make another video that shows you guys how to actually create this, but you guys can actually create a pop-up nav menu with the Elementor pop-ups, or you guys can use the Elementor header builder and Flexbox. It's really up to you, but if you guys do want to watch that video, I'll go ahead and leave that in the description below. I'm gonna make it actually right away after I'm done with this one, so because right now I'm like in the mode, I kind of feel like making videos today. So let's go back over here to the website, and we're now going to make this section at the bottom right here. So if you guys notice, this is actually a 2-column row, and we have these 2 elements right here, but what we've done is we've actually created padding right here because this is all in one Flexbox, but I want to have everyone sort of act independently from another. But I wanted the elements to act a little bit more independently from each other. So let me walk you guys through on how I did that. So let's go back to the header builder, right? So we're gonna go ahead and publish this. And this is now going to go on the entire website. All right, so let's go ahead and go back to the theme builder. Now we're gonna make a custom footer. So over here under footer, I'll click on the plus. And now we're gonna click on the X because we're gonna make one from scratch, and we'll scroll down. So now I'll go ahead and click on the plus, and we're gonna click on the 2-column row. Now I'm gonna change this over here to 70-30, right? 70-30, okay. Now let's first go ahead and add in a background color right here. So for the edit container, for the style, for the classic, we're first gonna throw in a background color. Now we're gonna add in some elements, right? So we have the site logo, right? And we're going to change the size of this to around 125 pixels, right? 125 pixels. And below that, we're going to now throw in a text editor and one more text editor, right? So text editor and text editor, okay? Now for this one here, we're going to use the address I used right here. So I'll just copy this and then I'll paste in that address, okay? And the same thing for this one right here. We're going to go back to our demo website here, and I'm just going to use this specific, I guess, email that I used or phone number or whatever, right? And we'll throw that in right there. Okay. Now for this one, I want to style it. So to style it over here under the text color, change this to something like white. And then we'll change this to paragraph. And then for the style, we can go ahead now and adjust the actual size of this if you want to do that. So here I'll put it to 15, right? Now for this logo right here, I want to put this on the other side. So for the Flexbox, we're now going to go ahead and, well, let's first add these in the Flexbox here, right? So we need to put all these elements inside of the Flexbox. And now from here, we can now manipulate these items from within the Flexbox. So over here, we're going to now align these horizontally, right? And then we're going to add in some space between elements, right? We can add in some space. Now that I added the space in here, I now want to just reduce the size of this a little bit just so that it looks like that. So now you guys can see that we have this beautiful footer that we have started to build. Now let's add the right side. So on the right side, you guys will see that we have follow us on social media, and then we just have some social icons. So let's go ahead and throw in some text right here. Drop in a heading text. This will be follow us on social media. Follow us on social media. And then we'll change this color to a white color, right? And I think that's a little bit too big, right? So let's go ahead and reduce the size of that to something like, I don't know, 20, right? 20 is good. 19, here we go, 20, okay. And then I'll throw in some social icons below that. Social icons. And then we'll change these all to black, right? So for custom, we're just going to reduce the primary color over here to black. And we'll also reduce the size of it just a little bit, right? So now we have 15. And for this text, we want to just align it in the center here. And for the buttons, for the Flexbox, we now can manipulate these items from within the Flexbox. So we can change it, in the center here, and we can give it just a little bit more space right there like that. Now, it really depends on the look that you want to give it, but I think this look looks pretty nice. On our demo website right here, we actually added some padding here to the entire space, and we added it just a little bit below the other text, but that's really up to you, but let's add some padding really quick. So over here under the advanced section, let's add some padding to the top. We'll add 15 to the top and also 15 to the bottom. Maybe 20 pixels. I think 20 is good. 20 and 20. All right, cool. Yeah, there we go. So we have this section here. Now this next section was really simple to add. All we did here was we just basically used an icon list and we added a border around the next section. That gives it this little white line right here, and it just gives a little bit more flavor, and it also separates this section here. These are essentially pages. You guys can use this for anything. This can be your About Us section. This can be pages. This can be various things, but we just used just generic pages. But let me give you an example of how to make this a little bit more creative. So let's go over here to the Flexbox. We're now go over here to the column section, and we're gonna add in a new Flexbox, right? Okay. And over here, we'll throw in a container. Now, before we begin, let's first add in the color. So for the style, classic, we're going to now throw in a color here. Oh no, whoops. Hold on, whoops, whoops. Here, let's, this color here, right? And we'll paste it in this section, okay. All right. Now, there's various ways on how we can, design and get creative here, but what we've done is we actually use the icon list. So for the icon list right here, we just basically threw this in, and we disguise these as pages. So this isn't a nav menu. We just basically use this to look like a nav menu, but it's really not. So for the list item 1, this can be like your home page, your About Us page, or whatever. So for example, your home page. And then for the dynamic tags right here under the link, we can go ahead and put the site URL, right? For the second one, we'll do like the home, or the, About Us, right? About. And this will be the About Us page, right? There's our link. And then for the third one right here, well, we got to get rid of these icons really quick. Yeah, get rid of these icons, right? Okay. The third one, we'll change this to like contact. And we'll also delete that. And we'll also use the link options. Hold on. Contact. This will be the contact us. Now over here for the style, we now need to add in some color. So let's add in the white color here for the text and the icon, but I did delete the icon, so maybe there's no reason for that. And I do want to bold this. I don't like Poppins when it's not bolded. It needs to be bold to just give it that flavor. There's something about Poppins font where you just make it bold and it looks 10 times better. I don't know what it is, So list item 2, let's go ahead and change that really quick right here. This will be like the about, right? And obviously you guys can make more and more, right? And these can just be pages, right? So that's basically what we did right here. And for the style, we can make this a little bit more spread apart, right? So for the text, we can now give it small indent, but also we can give this a gap right here. I think that is actually under the, let's see, so for the space between, we're now going to give it a little bit more space between, maybe like just, 5 pixels, right? And there you go. Now we have this section here. Now, we also do have this white bar right here. So let me explain how we got that. So over here under the divider, we added just a small border on the top and the bottom of this section. So over here under border, we're now going to unlink these values. And now we're just going to add maybe 2 to the top and 2 to the bottom. And we're going to add a solid line, and we're going to change that solid line to white. So now if you look at it, now there is a white border right here that separates the pages right here from this section, right? Now, next I want to go ahead and duplicate this. So I'm going to right click and duplicate, right click and duplicate, right click and duplicate. I think 4 is good. You know, on our demo website, we use a little bit more, but obviously you don't have to use all of these. Now, if you do want to add a little bit more elements and flavor to these right here, over here under the heading, we'll throw in a heading text, right? And we'll go ahead and change this to something like, you know, this can be like about us, right? I think every company has like an about us on the footer of their websites. And for this section, we'll just delete it. And over here, you can just throw it in some text editor, right? And then this can be a little bit more about your company, right? I think the about us is a little bit too large right here. So we'll go ahead and reduce the size of that just a little bit, right? 25. And bold it. All right, so now that we added the about us section, I want to put this on the left side, right? But if you actually try to actually move the container, it won't let you. It's going to actually stack them all together. So under the advanced options over here, under the container section, you can actually change the order. So right here, you see where it says starts for this about us section. I want to actually move it over there right there. So you can see how you can put it in a specific order. So we have the about us section, and then we have these 3 columns, which of course can be pages. You can add in your Instagram, you can add in your TikTok, you can add in whatever you guys want on these 3 sections right here. But that's how we can create a really nice custom footer using the actual Flexbox. I do actually want to give this a little bit more padding here. So for the bottom right here, I want to just give this a little bit more padding. There we go, just to give it a little bit more space and a little bit more to the top. Right, there we go, just a little bit. Then also to the left side as well, we'll throw in just a little bit, 15, and then also 15 on the right side. Okay, so there you go. Now we have this really nice beautiful footer that we just created. Now this actually works for the desktop. Now we need to take a look at what it looks like on a tablet. So I'll go ahead and update that. Now let's click on the tablet device. On the tablet, looks perfect. The only thing we probably need to do here is just maybe reduce the size of this text. So for the style right here, I'll just reduce the size of this text for the tablet because it's a little bit too large. Okay, I'll update that. And now let's look at mobile. Let's see what mobile looks like. Okay, we got some work to do for the mobile, okay? So for the mobile view, we have a little bit of work. Now, the first thing I want to do here is I want to make this logo a little bit bigger for the mobile because it's just a little bit too small and they probably won't be able to see it. So for the width right here, I want to change this to something like maybe 200. Okay, so we'll do it 200. We'll type it in there, 200. And for this text, I want to go ahead and also put this in the center, you know, for the alignments. And for this Flexbox, I now want to go ahead and click on vertical. So I want to stack these so when the user's on a phone, you know, it looks really nice and vertical. And for the gap between elements for the mobile, I now want to actually reduce the size of this like that. Now for the address right here under the alignment, we're just going to click on center to make it look more centered. And there you go. So now that looks like a really nice clean section right here where it has the logo, it has our phone number and our address, and we have the social media icons and stuff like that. Now below that, I just feel like this section is just not necessary. So it really depends on the size of your website, right? So if these are current pages on your website, it might be too many pages for mobile users. So for this specific section, I'm just going to restrict it. So for the 6 dots, I'm going to go to the advanced section, and under the responsive, I'm going to hide this on mobile, right? So this is all that's going to display for mobile. It looks really nice, really clean. So let's go ahead now and click on update. Now we're going to set the conditions right here. So display conditions, the entire site, and then I'll click on save and close. All right, now let's take a look at our website and hopefully everything went good. Let's go ahead and go to visit site. And there you go. So now we have this beautiful header here at the top. You can see it matches really well with the rest of the websites. And if we scroll down over here to the bottom, And then you can see here is our footer here at the bottom of the websites, right? So now let's take a look at what our header and footer looks like on the other devices. So I'll go ahead and shrink that down. And you'll see that we have our footer here. And if we shrink it down over here, you'll see that it's fully responsive and it looks great. And if we take a look at our header up here, you'll see that we have our header, looks great. It's fully responsive. And when you shrink it down, it now has the hamburger menu where users can also view the pages on mobile devices. So party people, I hope this video helped you guys out on creating headers and footers using Flexbox. When you're using Flexbox, you really need to think like a step ahead, because you need to figure out, okay, I made this section. What am I going to add in that section? And then how am I going to manipulate that container? We also do have various Elementor templates that you guys can check out on my website, darrellwilson.com. I'll leave a link below to check out some of those templates that I showed you guys in this video. I hope you party people enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys have any questions. And until then, I will see all of you party people in the next video, guys. Take care.